hopefully you can hear me. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. I'm not going to really think too much on that today. I've got plenty of activities here, so I'll be quite busy. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Okay, so I was able to confirm that we do have audio. Thank you very much. Okay, so now, all right. Okay, so I actually have a lot of activities here that I can do without audio, and it's good to see that I do have audio and I can include you in the process. So basically, one of the activities that I have set up for myself today is researching the hierarchy of needs. Um, so basically, just to give a brief explanation of the hierarchy of needs and why it would be important for a targeted individual to be aware of is basically at the top, the goal is self actualization. So becoming someone and fulfilling your purpose, or at least having all those base needs met so that you can be in that process. And now, underneath that are basic needs that you need before you can really fully work on that. So, and that's just a basic understanding that I'm sharing, that I have of it because I'm learning about that. And once you learn about this, it becomes more obvious as to why they're doing the things that they do. And mindfulness and awareness are key. So, for example, awareness of what they're doing and the goal. For example, if you know that they're making noise to upset you and have you react, if you know that's their goal, you can be, and so basically that's awareness. And then you can be mindful and choose a better activity for yourself. Choose an activity that you can focus on and stay busy, something like that. Okay. So that's why I'm studying the hierarchy of needs, to be aware of basically why they're doing this, which is to take out those foundations of the hierarchy so that you cannot work on self actualization and become someone. Like, for example, someone who is rich, who can hire a good private investigator to prove what's happening to them. First, they want to knock out for you to getting that money so that you can't prove that they're abusing. Okay, so that's why it's important to be aware of the of needs and why they try to make this impossible for you, and it's very unfair. um, and yeah, so let's look into this more. So since I know I have audio now, and thank you for letting me know, um, since I know that, I wanted to let you know like what I'm researching, and so I'm going to get into it now. I have a lot of activities here that probably won't need much talking because sometimes my audio doesn't work. Okay, let's see. So it goes psychological, safety, social, esteem, and self actualization. Okay, so okay, psychological, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and self actualization. Let me screenshot that. Okay. Um, so at the base is physiological. Okay, so that would be food, shelter, protection, clothing, sleep. Okay, so stuff like that. Now, so they'll mess with your sleep, etc. And I'll get more into this like once I kind of formulate my own thoughts on this, and like I need to get a good understanding and um, yeah, I did also think of an idea, since I can't really see the comments. Uh, and that was I go to my YouTube channel on my other device and check, and I could hear myself. So, so you guys shouldn't have to worry about like, as many technical difficulties. And if there is, I'll know. And yeah, I won't get drained, and I'll be able to continue to produce content. We really have to befriend ourselves and be in our own corner when there is so much working against us. And that's on top of just normal technical difficulties or actual coincidences that do happen, right? So I remember when I started going live, and I started to get much more dedicated and committed to activism for people who are dealing with the abuse and trauma of organized harassment. one of the first videos I did was I was cleaning my necklace, polishing my silver, and it just crossed my mind last night when I was so tired and everything, and I was like, well, that's something that I could do even if there's no audio, keep me busy. And I know I have this silver necklace, but I want to let everyone know that I do not believe in the necessity of trinkets, talismans, the need for, purchasing expensive cleansing, spiritual cleansing, etc. And I don't label psychological abusers as, doing witchcraft. No, I call them, as I see them, psychological abusers. And if they're coming at you with that mask, well, they want you to go around saying witches are chasing you or whatever the case may be. So yeah, they may be doing those basically, what do you call this? Like, they may be using that illusion, right? Kind of getting you to, like, they are bothering you, they are psychologically abusing you, and they're using kind of like that theme, right? So yeah, I'm not saying they're not actually trying to bother you with that theme, right? But they're using that theme because they want you to, not label them as what they actually are, which is psychological abusers. And yeah, it's free to rebuke them in the name of Jesus Christ and move forward. So, and label them as they are, look at things as rationally as you possibly can. And also, try not to build hatred, animosity, or like any type of negativity. It eats away at yourself. It's toxic, which is another reason they use those labels, right? Or, I use the example of witches, but they could be, and how I said they might actually be using that theme. So, for example, I've seen some people say gay people are after them with targeting, trying to make them upset, and then they become quite homophobic and they use a lot of vulgarity, and and here's the thing I wanted to say, that theme they're using, they may actually get actually gay people that are perps. Like, so you actually are, they are doing that, right? So, but see, they're making it just like with the colors, they're making it seem really bad to you. Like, for example, if they target you with a lot of red and they abuse you while they're in a red car, maybe they honk at you real close to you and stuff like that, or drive by real close to you and fast, right? So they are harassing you, like they are, and yeah, with red, right? But then you're gonna go around telling people, I don't know, it's plausibly deniable the way that it sounds. So, And the reason I mentioned the colors now is because, like using red, etc., is because, yeah, they are doing that, and I wanted to let you know that I'm aware of that. But here's the thing: you are singled out. You're targeted. They're doing that specifically to you, but everyone's not experiencing that, right? So your experience, like, oh my God, all these witches or all these gay people or all this red, right? Yeah, that's your experience. And they only target you. That's why it's called targeted individual. They're only targeting you with all that. So for you, yeah, actually, but you just have to dispel their illusion. And it's an illusion because it's just you that they're doing that to. And it does seem very real because they are doing that to you. Do you see what I'm saying? But they're not doing that to other people. So then you have to have understanding, really a lot of understanding when you're talking to other people about this. Because they would love for you to go to the people that you care most about and tell this. And the way they set it up, I just explained, it's an illusion. And the way they set it up is going to make the person who you tell that you care about confused, and they don't have the experience themselves to kind of reference, right? They're not doing that to them. So I hope that helps with some of the like sensitization they're doing. And also they may also be smearing you and getting you to fit into that narrative. Like, for example, let's say that the person that they use, they get or pay perps that are gay to harass you, and then they also are in other rooms smearing you, saying that you're homophobic and you're angry and violent, and then at the same time they're pestering you 24/7. So with all of what I just said, please remember the metaphor of an octopus, okay? In order to not become hateful of different communities, you can visualize an octopus with many arms in those different communities. So they can get people, actual people from those communities. And so, yeah, not only is it going to look like that, but that theme is going to be very realistic to you because they have tentacles in those communities, in all those communities. So they're utilizing actual people from those communities. And it's part of discrediting you, but also like shaping your character. Like, humans can be malleable. Like, for example, if they make you angry today, and then they do that again tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, then that was your mood. But your brain has neuroplasticity. So if they were able to do that every day for a while, even if it stops, or even if you're dealing with or talking to someone who is not involved, you're going to be possibly mean to them or angry because that they have influenced your mood so many times that now that's part of your brain, that's part of your neurochemistry, that's part of, and that, so now that I've explained all this, you can see why this is sick, toxic. They're weaponizing psychology against human beings. Because they, are aware of that. And the person who they're doing this to may not be aware of it. So that's why it's important, like, if you've experienced this type of abuse, it's very important that you speak out and help others, because this is inhumane. No human should have to go through, it's like, it's wrong. And it's obviously wrong. And all of those communities, like all communities, whatever community, and we're all in one community, all of us are in one community or another, whether we like it or not, just by our nature. And therefore, everyone should be concerned. Like this program is like an octopus with tentacles in our communities, every one of them. Even elderly community, etc. Right? No matter what. All the communities. That's another thing. They try to use vulnerable people like elderly to target people, and then if they get upset or react, it looks even worse. So with that, what I have to say is really hold on to your true self. Like anything that you notice about yourself that is a good quality, like kindness, anything like that, if you notice that, let me tell you something, they know as well. And they would like to change that. And humans are malleable. So that means that they can influence you, but it also means that you can influence you. And I think you have more power over that. So that's something important to know as well. You actually have more control and power over that process. So, and what is key? What are the keys to that? Taking that power? Awareness of what is happening, like what I'm trying to share right now, and mindfulness. So be wise about it. Once you're aware about it, don't, basically resist getting angry. Be careful of your emotional world. So first, self-care, because you can understand how once you become aware of what they've done, and then once you have that awareness, it unlocks the key to kind of apply that to your whole past. And then you start to know that over years, okay, so first thing is emotional, work on that first. Breathing. I have a lot of tips about breathing practices on this channel. If you check out my videos, you'll probably find a lot of help with that. Then mindfulness. Start making the right choices for yourself. You have more power than they do in that regard. Okay. My feet are so asleep. Let me just I'm gonna go rinse this in a minute. First, I'm gonna sit in this chair. Okay. You know what? I haven't really been able to sit like that long enough for my feet to fall asleep like that. So, because previously my back would hurt. So the fact that my back's not hurting right now is a really good thing. Okay, I think my... So now I'm sitting in my chair, even though my back isn't hurting for a few minutes, because I do need to give it a break or it will start to burn. And just a bit of my story, like, I had gallstones for a very long time, and I went to the hospital many times, and it's a long story, but basically now I have to work on some stuff like rebuilding my back muscles and correcting my posture. It's part of what I'm doing on this channel. Okay, so we talked about the hierarchy of needs, and we talked about how they try to influence you, to kind of paint you out to be negative, toxic, when in reality, if you study what they're doing, well, the reasons for it, because you know what they're doing, that's obvious, right? But then why are they doing that? When you study that, you start to realize that this is very serious, and they're playing dirty, and they want to make you, they want to change you in a negative way. They may also be smearing you, and they want you to fit that narrative. Okay, so like, why are they doing this? Why else would they be doing this? If you're a bad person, they don't have to do that, right? But if you're not fitting whatever smear and narrative that is, that's when they do this. And that's why it's despicable. And that's why I'm advocating for other targeted individuals. And I will continue to do so. And they mess with a lot of stuff. Like, it's not only the targeted individual, but it's the whole community. Like, when you're changing people like that, like what I just talked about, but also affecting communities, creating these false narratives about people and also communities, like, they have they don't draw the line anywhere. Like, these organized harasser people, they're really there to cancel people out. And so it is very serious. And it's very important that we're aware of what they're doing, and we continue to do good activities, you know, continue to build ourselves up in a positive way. And I'm not saying ignore their toxicity. I'm saying do good for yourself. They're providing you with plenty of negative. Um, and they would love you to focus on that. But what you need to do for yourself is focus on what good can you do for yourself and others. Okay, let me just go rinse this off. So yeah, dispel that illusion by reminding yourself that whatever community they have tapped into to use against you, remind yourself that this is not a, a genuine, this is an act, okay? I'm being singled out. This is not a genuine reflection of the actual community as a whole, whatever community it is. I also wanted to mention to you, if they've got like a villain, the person to play the role of like a villain in your life just totally causes you a lot of problems. Also with that, uh, don't become hate. Try not to become hateful, right? Try not to become hateful. And they will use flying monkeys to do that. That's one thing. Become a villain, and then have you spend your energy and time thinking about that person or upset at that person. So that's, if you're being upset at that person, not only are you wasting your time, but you're also changing your character, right, over time. Okay. So that's why you don't spend your time on flying monkeys. And I don't even want to say flying monkeys. Like, let's just say, people who have been misled or whatever the case may be, right? Um, yeah, because you always want to, like, always err on the side of compassion. It's part of taking your power back over your own heart and mind. Cover your heart. I kind of thought that my audio would be working today because my microphone's arriving today, and I was like, I bet you my audio will work today. So I'm gonna check, and I checked, and it is. I remember one targeted individual saying that things become quite predictable. Like, you can call it, and there it is. It happens. And it's not psychic powers or anything like that. It's just the fact that they always do that, right? You're just referencing history in order to, be more aware of what might be next. You don't actually know the future. Nobody does. But the reason that it may just so happen that, surprise, surprise, that's sarcasm, it's because you're referencing history. Okay. And then other people might try to get you to believe they're psychic when they say something's going to happen. And then they set that up to happen. And it's like, and then you may start to think that they have some kind of power that they don't, like to tell the future or whatever. So, yeah, so no such thing as psychic powers, just saying. But you can, like, although there's no such thing as knowing the future, you can use history as a reference to make a more informed and educated decision than your guess would have been had you not referenced, history. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna need to reach my pen. Here we go. And then also, when they do patterns, don't spend too much time referencing the history of their pattern and then kind of like fretting about what they're going to do in the future. They will actually try to use that awareness against you. Like once you pick up an awareness, sometimes they try to use it against you. So yeah, don't dwell on what they've done, and also, even if they're going to do that again, like don't spend too much time thinking about it, because that's anxiety. Even though they are like basically, you can look at it in an educational way to kind of, you know, basically be cautious. Like for example, I'm not going to react when they do that, right? So to that extent it is good, but then, you know, fretting over it longer is not as good. Okay, let's look at the hierarchy of needs again. I was just writing down some information as far as like the structure of my videos that I used to do. Okay, let me go back to the hierarchy of needs. Physiological needs, safety needs, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. So I'm also very grateful for the core needs that I do have. Although, like for example, like it may look like I'm safe right now, but if I'm getting followed around and harassed, and I've eaten things that have made me very, very sick before, uh, that has shook up that pillar, that foundation, and that's abusive. It's not okay, and people should not be able to get away with that. Physiological needs, my physiological needs are met, but at the same time, I'm not allowed to self actualize, and therefore, um, it's like day to day style met. It's met right now, but I'm not able to build this pyramid up enough, the pyramid of needs up enough to where it's safe and I can look out, you know, like, so yeah, make a more educated decision on where I can, how, if I'll still have these needs met in the future. If that's not possible, then that one is basically shaken up as well, right? If they hold you in poverty, even if your basic needs are met, right? So I'm very grateful that I have that level right now. I do, right? But still, that foundation has been shaken by the fact that I'm not able to actualize, and therefore, it's not like, and I'm getting a noise campaign right now. So I'm going to take a breather. It's a good reminder to take a breather, because I'm talking about something very serious here. And as a targeted individual, it is good to be aware and mindful. And so, for example, if you're talking about how these core needs have been shaken, that's going to be traumatic. And if you get a noise campaign right when you're talking about this traumatic effect it has had on you, okay, so take your power and take a breather, make a good choice, and this is an example. Okay, so I'm going to work on my back. You know what? I just thought to myself, it is so awesome that when I got targeted, and this shows me something about myself and my true character, it is so awesome that when they use repetitively certain groups um, to try to make me hateful, fearful, etc., in time, I became aware of it and actually try to advocate for not only targeted individuals, but those groups. Like, think about how good of character that is for you if they've been targeting you with a certain group and then you speak out for that group to let them know that actually this problem that is facing me of organized harassment is like an octopus and it does also have tentacles in your community and they're actually trying to make certain people very aggravated and irritated, and also using the other tentacle that's in your community to actually harass that person. You see what they're doing? So you're also organized. I mean, you're also advocating for those communities, right? Your own community as a targeted individual, and whatever, like whatever other communities you are a part of, you can let those communities know. But even the ones they're specifically trying to target you with, instead of becoming hateful to that group, you advocate for that group to become aware that like they're doing that. And that's actually not only dangerous for me, but dangerous for you. Do you see what I'm saying? How you can take something that they're doing and be like, okay, yo, you're punching me. All right, let me pull you over here and show everyone. Instead of like, you know, uh, like swerving it and punching them back. Because guess what? Soon as you do that, they hide their hand that hit you and say, he hit me. And you're in big trouble because they've got a lot of connections. You know, if you're a target, you already know that. They've got funding, they've got connections. You can't react. I'm sorry. I know, but like you can't. Like what I'm saying is I'm sorry that they can do that to you and get away with it. Not that you can't react. It's not good to react anyway. But I'm sorry that they can do that to you and then you can't do anything. That's unfair. I know. But we also have to realize that's the way it is right now. They've got the power as far as systemic goes. But there are obviously limits, right? There are other things they could do to those, base needs, etc., that they haven't. And I think they could even get away with it. So, so it's very important for us to be as wise as possible. If you need, I think the Bible could help. Psalms, uh, Proverbs, those can help. They help to teach you wiser ways of handling this. For example, giving it to God and then moving on with something good, right? And also, I'm aware that like we also have to do good on the world for ourselves. Like if God sends you a boat, try to be aware and mindful. I know we're only human, but try to get on the boat, right? And not be like, well, God's going to do everything, so I don't even need to get on the boat, right? So that's why I'm here. I'm trying to speak out. I'm trying to help those groups that I was talking about, and also other targeted individuals and myself by speaking out, but also trying to do it in a wise way. And any time that I should give an issue or matter to God, that's when to do that. Yeah, I'm not saying don't do anything. I'm just saying be wise and do the right thing. And at times, don't do anything. Like, especially, like, for example, at that moment, and then later, maybe, you know? So, for example, at that moment, instead of reacting in that moment, um, like, let's say there's a lot of noise, a noise campaign, loud music, for example. Um, Maybe in that moment, the best thing to do is let it go, ignore it. Yesterday, I did a lot of that, and I felt like I got some rest. But if you're being singled out and targeted by these type of attacks, and there's so many others going on that it's become very obvious that like it's not just everyday things, then okay, that's when you can go from there. Advocacy is one good thing. Yeah, so so today I spent most of my early time in the day basically cleaning up and catching up from all the like efforts of activity I'd been doing that not only were made more difficult but also kind of didn't work out with the audio. Well, that's okay. I rested yesterday because I was so tired. Then today I cleaned up, organized stuff, got ready, and I was thinking, there's no audio anyway. I could just, do some activities, and I did some, and but I have been like cleaning pretty much all day, so I should probably just relax now. And yeah, but I'll leave the live going. Maybe I'll get ideas or whatever. I wonder if I should eat something. I think I should. Okay, I'm glad that my necklace is clean. I'm glad that I stretched. Keeping busy is something very important for targeted individuals. So, especially during a noise campaign, if you keep busy, uh, you kind of can more easily ignore and forget about it. Headphones help as well. Hope I can help. My cat heard food. As soon as he hears food, he starts letting his presence be known. So funny. Okay, let me get your food first, okay? Alright, time to eat. Yay! There you go. Okay. Next would be a plate.
Mukbang time. Wow. Okay, I gotta go flip my other tortilla. had a little bit of masa left, so I get a third taco. Woo! Okay. Um, excuse me. Oh my goodness. Okay. You know what? Okay.
Okay. Mukbang.
Excuse me. Okay, a lot of times, excuse me, a lot of times on my channel, I've talked about walking, and I have mentioned on my channel before that if you have a big meal, um, walking right after can be very productive because it interrupts like a blood sugar spike, etc. And okay, so let's get to it. I'm gonna hold off on studying for a moment so I can get to that. And right do that. One of the really good activities you can do is, you could start with is rinsing your dishes like after your meal to get you going, because it can be kind of, you know how it is, food coma, right? You make sure I don't have any dishes in here. And I'll grab this as well. So I checked for any other dishes, got my cup, and also noticed that my silver cleanser was in there, so I'm going to take that back as well. Just heating up my black coffee. I don't recommend, adding many calories to your drinks, especially if you eat a good meal. So, no soda. So here we go. just wanted to make sure that I started the scrubbing process on that pan. Okay. Let's see.
So on a different topic, one thing I just thought about is you can totally realize, you can see, like in my previous videos, the effect of what so many setbacks and so many distractions and noise campaigns, etc. Like you can see over time how hard I was working to advocate, and you can also see the effects of having so many setbacks and noise campaigns from yesterday's videos, like, and a few days before. Like everyone was included in that whole process of me trying to advocate for targeted individuals and people that are going through organized harassment, and they also got to see that the audio was cut out, and at times when the audio was there, they got to hear some noise campaigns, etc. But the worst noise campaigns happened when the audio was removed. So, but there's been other times that I've recorded some really bad ones. But anyway, so yeah, I included everybody in that process. And, as I said last night, I kind of, let that go for a while. I emailed YouTube and let that go. And luckily it's working again today. And the noise campaigns I ignored, and I got some rest. I also put some lotion on my face, and I've been trying to stay busier, block out the noise, and just be productive. And YouTube audio is working again, so yeah, you're included in this process. Like you can see why I was in that state, why I looked that way. You can also see that these methods that I share on this channel actually work. And what happens when you're not doing that? Because I was trying to advocate, I was getting more serious about it, and I was getting noise campaigns and things weren't going right. And since the audio wasn't uploading, I would, and it was like hours long of advocating, and then didn't upload, and I still, I had some ideas in those videos, good ideas, and I wanted to share and also let everyone know that the noise campaigns, the audio's not there when I got some very bad noise campaigns. And I also wanted to recap like what I've been saying. You may have seen those videos where I recapped. Okay, so yeah, because of that, like, and then you saw the result and how drained I was, but also I had other setbacks that were created because I was trying to fix those setbacks. So the house, I got behind on my stuff that I usually keep up on, and I also advocate keeping up on those. And as you can see, it is very important. So self-care, organization, I talk about those on here, and as soon as, like, I was gonna say as soon as the issue got fixed, but actually it kept happening. So yesterday I was like, okay, I'm letting it go. So even before it got fixed, I had to get back to other things, and the hierarchy of needs is kind of related to that, because at some point, if they set you back enough, more important things take precedent, and you can no longer attend to that. So there you go. There's that. Okay. And so yeah, to end on a positive note, make sure that you keep organized, make sure that you block out the noise campaigns. And as I'm talking, sharing these ideas, a noise campaign started. So I'm gonna, I don't want to interrupt my walk, but as you know, there was no noise, and I started talking, and I got this beat in the background while I'm trying to organize my thoughts and share about some traumatic experiences as they start another one, right? To trigger that traumatic experience. Let me turn this back on. You know, to trigger that trauma, reopen that wound, and then I will be less productive in my, or less basically organized in my speech and my thought. And these are the ways that they ruin people's lives. And it's subtle, but it's insidious, and it's devastating in time. So it's important that we talk about that, because that's what they're doing to us. So if they love the fact that it's hidden, we need to reveal it. Okay. So yeah, typically when I'm walking, I would just want to enjoy my walk. I wouldn't write while I'm walking. But when you've had a lot of experiences in the last few days that were meant and designed to confuse you and get you off track, and you're trying to speak out on those, but you've got more noise campaigns going on at that time as well, it's always good to have a notebook with you. But I'm not recommending it while you walk. I'm just recommending in general, have notebooks around and then sit down and write a note. But like I said, right now, I've been going through those campaigns. I'm going through them right now, and I'm trying to speak out on it, and so it's helping me. And then, if I was, like worried about what they were doing in the past years, I'm trying to speak out on it, and they're doing it right now. And I get confused, and I look around, and then I trip and fall, or I'm trying to write down what they're doing, and I trip and fall. They get to act like they had no involvement in that. So, ignore the notes as much as you can. But since I'm live, if that happened, it would happen on camera, and everyone would know. Versus if it wasn't on camera, then it sounds even more like, like how can you even prove it that happened, right? And then over time, if you record over time, that's even more, makes it even more clear, right? Because we use a lot of different methods. But then over time, you'll be able to show them that it's not only noise, there's a lot of things. Okay, so. Okay, I think I'm going to switch to stretching. Okay. But yeah, that really helps after a meal. Okay. Ooh, I hope I didn't. Well,
my goodness. I was gonna say, I hope I didn't press the stop button when I was moving the phone, and then drop my other one, because I got the notebook here, so it was kind of like easy to. But anyway, let's see. Okay, it didn't stop. Good. We're good. I was just moving my weights over here. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so as far as for aligning my spine, I think it's very important that I do these stretches for a while. Also, I want to add that if you are dealing with any back pain or any pain, if you're cooking your own food and then you eat, when you get up to move, because I mentioned move can be good, pay attention and listen to your body. If you have pain, just be aware of that, take a note of that, and don't try too much to work through it if it's getting worse. So for me, for example, and first let me just mention, especially if you're eating fast food and you don't have to cook it yourself and you don't have dishes to wash, etc., it's even more important that you do move after eating. But me, I move a lot before I
eat because I was cooking. And well, before I cook, I have to do dishes. Then I cook and I wash those dishes after I eat. And after I eat, I try to get up and walk for at least 5 minutes. And yeah, this video, like this live stream, took a heavy shift towards my more regular routine because I got so far behind. And I talked about it earlier because of the setbacks, there was no audio. So I tried, and that was like hours long video. I talked about it earlier. So that's one of the reasons why I'm very somewhat busy today. But I still wanted to be live because I'm still taking this basically this basically being an advocate very serious. If you become an advocate for this, you're an advocate not only for others but for yourself as well, because we're all dealing with this organized harassment. So yeah, I held that one for a while. Now this side, I like to tuck my chin. Me and my notebook, reaching for my notebook mid-stretch. But I'm not going to do that while I'm stretching because, yeah. For me, breathing and stretching and relaxing go together so well that, yeah, I'm not going to right now. Okay, I don't think I held this one as long, so. I was just thinking, what if the microphone came in here and the audio still wasn't working sometimes when it's live? I just realized that might happen, so I'm kind of reassuring myself that if that happens, just stay calm and keep on going. I talked about that earlier, how you may notice the patterns, and they, like, I was talking about how if you observe history, or if you're aware that if you observe history, sometimes you can be, more aware of what might be next. And then if they know that you're aware of that, if they know you realize that, then they may try to even use that against you by doing patterns. Then you will expect that to happen again in the present, worry about the fact that it happened in the past, and fret that it may happen in the future. Right? So instead, I recommended, looking at it in an educational way, like, okay, that may happen, and then using your best practices. So, remember, don't react, so that it doesn't drain you, and just do good things, move forward. Right. So that's an example of what I was talking about. And hopefully it works just fine, And oftentimes everything's fine. Yeah. So, and I'm very glad that I don't run into a lot of no. I'm very glad that although I do run into a lot of sabotage, it's not everything. But oftentimes it's the bigger things, the things that I really need to take care of. And then, they harass you on the way there, they harass you while you're there, it's very draining, and it doesn't work out. So it was pointless to even go, plus you got abused the whole way there, and while you're there. And then you got to go back, and that's going to happen again. You see what I'm saying? So, but yeah, just block it all out as best you can and keep going. Okay, take care of a few things. Okay, I think it's time for me to take a break and rest for a while. So I'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching, everyone. Please click like.